Wideband audio. Wideband audio. Wideband audio. Wideband audio. Wide.
Audible Frontiers presents Hyperion, written by Dan Simmons and read by Victor Bavine, Allison Johnson, Kevin Pariseau, Jay Snyder, and Mark Vidor.
Prologue. The hegemony consul sat on the balcony of his ebony spaceship and played Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor on an ancient but well-maintained Steinway.
Issue in number 4. Can we compensate? We would have less than 2.3% deterioration over 1 full sol. I think we can live. Colony 1 Mars. Written by Gerald M. Kilby. Performed by Nicole Zanzarella. Prologue. What follows is the last known communication from Colony 1 Mars. Sol 1435. COM ID NL-1027. This may be our last transmit for some time. We cannot spare the power. Sandstorm continues unabated. It will never end. We are down to 17% energy levels and have deactivated all non-essential systems. Solar array unable to recharge batteries due to darkened sky, running at only 7% efficiency. Plutonium power source has failed, and attempts by EVA to find the fault have proved fatal. Those who have ventured outside to investigate have not returned. If the storm does not clear, we will run out of power in approximately 14 sols. To add to our woes, a strange malaise has overcome many of us who still survive. A disturbing psychosis now affects 1 in 3. We are prepared as best we can. We all know what is coming. We wait in hope, even though that now seems futile. Send no more. Chapter 1. Descent. In less than 15 minutes, Dr. Jan Malbec would be either walking on the surface of Mars or be dead, and there were plenty of ways for her to die. She could burn up in the atmosphere if the heat shield failed, or be smashed to pieces on the surface if the thrusters didn't fire. In any event, it was going to be one hell of a ride. After months of floating around inside the Odyssey transit craft en route to Mars, the moment had finally arrived for the 6 crew of the International Space Agency, ISA, to enter the lander and descend to the planet's surface. The habitation module was already in situ, along with a myriad of equipment and supplies. The mothership would now be parked in orbit where it would wait patiently for their return. Jan strapped herself into the seat, gripped the metal armrests tightly, and tried to breathe normally. Ahead of her, at the flight controls, Commander Robert Decker and First Officer Anis Romanov cycled through the systems check routines. Detaching in 5, 4, 3... The voice of the first officer squawked in Jan's helmet, and she felt a thud behind her as release bolts retracted. The lander detached itself, floating free from the mothership. A moment later, thrusters fired to align it for the correct injection trajectory. Jan felt the force propelling her forward. Her grip tightened on the armrest. It bit through her gloved hand. It comforted her. Gravity began to tug at the craft as it commenced its downward spiral. It shook, gently at first. But with each passing second, the vibration intensified and deepened until the entire vessel rocked with a violent, cacophonous rage. The first officer began to shout out the descent velocity and elevation vectors. Mach 2.7, altitude 15.6 kilometers. Jan tried not to think about the searing temperature building up on the craft's heat shield as it plowed through the upper atmosphere. She gripped the armrest tighter and hung on. It should have been Science Officer Patty McAllister sitting in this seat instead of her. But 4 weeks before the launch, McAllister started feeling unwell. An examination by the ISA medical team quickly diagnosed a viral infection. Not life-threatening, but she would not be fit for the mission. So after much deliberation and hand-wringing by the ISA directorate, Dr. Jan Malbec got the call. She was officially next in line and checked most of the boxes for most of the stakeholders, but she was least experienced in terms of astronaut training. Jan knew the journey here was the easy part. The real test was beginning now. She would soon find out if she had what it took, or if she was simply an imposter. The craft accelerated through the thin upper atmosphere, and Jan felt a sickening wave ripple through her gut as her stomach began to form a closer relationship with her throat. The staccato voice of the first officer echoed in her headset as she checked off stats. Mach 1.7, altitude 10.1, lateral drift 2.2. Get ready, deploying chutes. With that, 3 enormous chutes exploded from the top of the descent craft, and the vessel slowed down dramatically. Jan felt like she was being vacuum-packed into her seat as they all took heavy G, as they hurtled toward the surface at extreme velocity. The thin Martian atmosphere, only 1% of Earth's, was grossly insufficient to slow the craft down for a soft parachute landing. At best, it took just enough sting out of the freefall to engage the retro thrusters. Detaching heat shield in 3, 2, 1. Jan felt the thump of bolts as the shield fell away from the base of the craft to find its own way down to the surface. Prepare for chute jettison. For a brief moment, Jan's stomach resumed its relationship with her throat before she was vacuum-packed to the seat again. Retro thrusters engaged, 1.8 kilometers, targeting on Hab beacon. Lateral drift still at 2.2. The first officer and commander traded data, ticking off the distance to the surface and speed of descent. 1.6, 1.1, drifting. Slowly, Jan's body resumed some ability to move, and she shifted in her seat to reassure herself that she could still do it. 500, 350, 275. Hold on to your butts. Here we go. The craft thumped down onto the planet's surface. Landing gear took the strain, and there was a brief moment where the stanchions held the full force before springing back to a complete rest. The thrusters shut off, the noise stopped, and the craft was silent. Stillness permeated the interior as the crew adjusted to the realization that they had landed and that they were all still alive. Holy crap. It was the chief engineer, Kevin Novak, who broke the moment. Then followed a multitude of cheers and hand-slapping. There was a palpable air of excitement mixed with intense relief that they had all survived the ride of death. It looks like we're about 1 click from the Hab beacon. The commander pointed to a flashing blip on the main screen. If our calculations are correct, then the sandstorm should be about 5 kilometers west of us. Plenty of time to reach the habitation module. They had been tracking the storm for some time while still on board the Odyssey. After much deliberation with ISA mission control, it was decided to land now before the storm had chance to grow. If left too long, it could engulf the entire area, making descent too risky and mean waiting weeks in orbit for another window. It was a sandstorm that proved the undoing of Colony 1, the first human settlement on Mars. It raged for over 6 months, during which time all contact was lost. That was 3.5 years ago. The crew of the ISA Odyssey was here to find out what had happened to it, and the 54 people who had called it home. Annis ran through the lander shutdown sequence, flicking off switches and putting the craft into sleep mode. When the time came to return to Earth, it would be woken up, refueled from the methane/oxygen plant already on the surface, and prepped for reuse as the Mars Ascent Vehicle, MAV, to rendezvous with the Odyssey orbiter. Prep for pressure equalization. A chorus of check echoed in Jan's helmet as each crew member confirmed the integrity of their EVA suit. Jan lifted her arm to adjust her helmet. It felt like lead. After so much time spent in zero gravity, her body struggled to adjust to a new way of working. She managed to activate the heads-up display that gave her a status on vitals: pressure, oxygen, temperature, and a raft of other biometric data. The others were also moving very slowly, readjusting to the 1/3 gravity. Okay, let's do this. The commander unfastened himself from his seat, opened the door to the Martian atmosphere, and headed outside. In a well-practiced routine, they followed in turn. Jan was last to leave. She felt totally uncoordinated as her body tried to remember how to move without floating. She clambered out backwards through the small hatch and fumbled to find the foothold that should be there. Somewhere. "See that on the horizon? It doesn't look good," said Annis. "Damn, I thought we had calculated it was moving north of us." The commander was agitated. "Malbec, hurry up. We've got that storm heading our way." "Sorry, Commander. Can't find the foothold." "Good God, would somebody please help her?" She felt a hand on her boot, and her foot was guided to the rung. She scrambled down, stumbled on the final step, and ended up face down on the surface. She felt like she was glued to the dirt. Gravity's a bitch, she thought. "Come on, Malbec, move it." Decker was getting impatient. Jan sat up, and with the help of Medical Officer Dr. Paolio Corelli and Mission Seismologist Lou Chan, she was bundled upright. "Thanks," she managed. They were in the Jezero Crater, a 40-kilometer-wide basin situated near the equator. It was a desolate, barren wasteland washed with a rose-colored hue. It had a terrible beauty. Ahead of them, somewhere to the west, lay the Hab, placed there by an earlier mission. It was their destination, their home for the next few months. "We've got to move. Look." Paolio pointed over towards the horizon. Rolling across it was a vast, billowing sandstorm. It was moving fast, in their direction. Commander Decker checked his holoscreen. A red blip pulsed out the Hab's location. He pointed off into the distance. "That way. Let's go." They moved slowly, but with purpose. The last thing they needed was to be caught out in the open. Jan's sense of balance was fragile, and she struggled to put one foot in front of the other. She felt like an ancient deep-sea diver, trudging along an ocean floor hunting for pearls, weighed down with brass and lead. "Malbec, pick up the pace. Let's keep it moving." Decker's voice echoed in her head. "Yes, Commander." Annis looked anxiously at the encroaching storm front. "We're not going to make it. Damn it. Looks like we figured it wrong. Anyway, we're committed now, no going back. Come on, we need to move faster." Jan dug deep and found a rhythm of sorts. They moved in silence, all focused on one objective: get to the Hab before the storm hit. She looked up at the ominous, billowing cliff of dust as it moved and reshaped itself ever closer. Annis was right. They weren't going to make it. There it is. They could see the white, squat cylinder of the Hab off in the distance, just before it was swallowed by the oncoming maelstrom. "Stay close. We'll lose visibility shortly. Everybody stay tight. Keep everyone else in sight." The storm charged across the crater's surface with impressive speed, and Jan braced herself for impact. But the impact never came. The Martian atmosphere was so thin that she barely felt anything. It was eerie. Fine dust swirled everywhere and blocked out the world. Encapsulated in her EVA suit, Jan had a strong feeling of dislocation. It was like she was not physically here. Like a ghost. She lost sight of all but Paolio and forced herself to move faster. Her balance failed. She tripped and tumbled forward. "Help! I've fallen. I can't see anyone." "Malbec, is that you? God damn it, we don't need this now. Everyone, stop exactly where you are. That includes you, Malbec. Don't move. We'll come to you. Just stay put." "I can't see anyone." She managed to stand up again, but had lost all sense of direction. Everywhere she looked was a dense, murky sea of dust. She turned this way and that, arms outstretched. She was blind. Fear rose up inside her. She fought to control it. The sound of her own breathing began to reverberate in her helmet. She was beginning to panic. A hand grabbed her elbow. "It's okay, Jen. I got you." It was Paolio. "Are you all right?" Her breathing calmed. "I'm fine. Just got a bit. I'm okay." The others came into view, materializing out of the ghostly dust. "Follow me. We're nearly there." Decker moved off again. The rest fell in behind. Jan stuck close to Paolio. They walked for only a short time, and finally the hab rose up out of the dust like a lost ship in a fog. They found their way to the airlock door and, one by one, crossed the threshold and into safety. Decker hit the controls to pressurize the airlock. As soon as the alert flashed green, the crew started to remove